I never expected my engagement party to feel like a performance, yet there I was beneath strings of warm Edison bulbs, smiling so hard my cheeks twitched, clinging to the arm of a man I wasn't sure I loved, while 100 congratulatory voices pressed in around me. The venue was a converted barn outside Asheville, all reclaimed wood and wide windows, the kind of place my fiancé, Daniel, described as perfectly rustic. I kept nodding whenever he said that, even though something about the lofted ceilings and hollow brightness made the whole night echo inside my chest. Everyone kept telling me how lucky I was, lucky to have Daniel, lucky to be getting married so young, lucky to have everything figured out. But my heart felt like a clenched fist. I only noticed the photographer because she wasn't trying to impress anyone. While guests posed and preened, she hovered on the edge of the crowd, quietly observing. Her camera moved like an extension of her gaze, slow, intentional, searching. She was dressed in black jeans and a tailored button-up, her dark hair pulled into a loose knot that kept slipping over one eyebrow. There was something about the way she looked at the world, like she already knew its secrets. Daniel squeezed my waist and leaned in. "Smile, babe. Photographer's coming." I forced one, even though my lips felt numb. She walked toward us with the slow confidence of someone who understood people more than people understood themselves. When she reached our little bubble of friends and relatives, she gave a small nod. "Hi, I'm Harper," she said. Her voice was warm and low, like a favorite song you haven't heard in years, but still remember the melody to. I had meant to say something simple, "Nice to meet you," or "Thanks for being here," but when she lifted the camera and looked at me, my lungs stopped working. Her eyes were green. Not flat, not mild, but alive, sharp, knowing. And in that split second before the shutter clicked, it felt like she saw right past my practiced smile, past the glittering ring, past the version of myself I was pretending to be. The flash went off, but the shock inside me wasn't from the light. She lowered the camera slightly. "Are you okay?" she asked quietly, too softly for Daniel to hear over the laughter behind us. I nodded fast. Too fast. Yes, fine. Just a long day." Her expression was gentle but not pitying, more like curiosity mixed with concern. "If you need a moment, we can step out. Sometimes these events get overwhelming." I told myself she was only being professional. Photographers dealt with stressed-out brides all the time. But no one else here could tell that I was unraveling. No one else seemed to notice the way I kept fidgeting with my engagement ring as though it didn't quite belong on my hand. But she noticed. Somehow she noticed. Daniel placed a drink in my hand before I could answer. "Here. You look like you could use this." The moment broke. Harper gave me a tiny, private smile, like she knew I was about to say something honest. And then she stepped back into the crowd, her camera rising again as she tracked the room with that same quiet intensity. For the next hour, I found myself searching for her without meaning to. She moved differently than everyone else. While guests mingled and performed, she drifted with purpose, capturing real expressions, the affectionate, the awkward, the unguarded. She photographed Daniel laughing with his co-workers, my parents clinking glasses, kids dancing near the dessert table. But every time her lens swept in my direction, something electric rippled through me. My skin felt too tight, my breath too shallow. Once, I turned around and found her already watching me. She narrowed her eyes slightly, as if analyzing me through a layer of glass, and for a second I thought she might approach again. But I looked away too quickly, pretending not to notice. I didn't understand why my chest kept fluttering, why my thoughts kept drifting to her voice, to her eyes, to the way she'd stripped the truth from me with one glance. I'd never felt something like that before. Instant, effortless, terrifying. It wasn't romantic. It couldn't be. It was just clarity. That's what I told myself. She simply saw things. That was her job. and still, my pulse stuttered every time I sensed her near. By the time dinner was served, everyone was in full celebration mode. Toasts clinked, music swelled, the night vibrated with good intentions. "So," my best friend Jenna said, leaning over her cocktail, "is it starting to feel real yet? You're actually getting married." The smile I gave her was thin, brittle. "Yeah, totally real." She tilted her head. "You say that like someone reading a line they didn't rehearse." I winced, but she wasn't wrong. I opened my mouth, unsure what I would even confess, when a soft flash illuminated the table. Harper stood a few feet away capturing candid shots, but when the light faded, her gaze lingered on me. Not Jenna, not the ring, but me. My heart tripped over itself. Jenna followed my line of sight and raised her brows. "Oh, I get it." "What?" I almost choked on the word. "She's gorgeous." "Jenna." She shrugged, unfazed. "I'm just saying. I've been watching you avoid looking at her for half an hour, and that's usually what you do when someone makes you nervous." "I'm not avoiding her," I lied immediately. Jenna smirked. "Interesting choice of verb. Avoid." "I'm engaged," I whispered sharply, as if that alone should snap everything back into place. "You can be engaged and still appreciate a pretty girl," she said. "Relax. I wasn't implying anything." But something inside me tightened, because Harper wasn't just pretty. She made the entire room tilt whenever she entered my line of sight, and I didn't know how to explain that without confessing things I wasn't ready to admit even to myself. Later, after the sun had dipped behind the hills and the dancing really started, I slipped outside for fresh air. The barn's patio was strung with soft lights, casting a golden glow across the gravel path. The night was cool, quiet, peaceful. I inhaled deeply, letting the crisp breeze push against the walls I'd been holding up all evening. I didn't hear Harper approach. I only felt the presence beside me, a kind of calm that grounded the air. "Thought you might be out here," she said. I turned slowly. She was leaning against the railing, camera hanging at her hip now instead of her hands. The lights caught the edges of her face, highlighting the sharp lines softened by the curve of her mouth. "Is that a good thing?" I asked. "Only if you want company." Something in her tone made heat crawl up my neck. It wasn't flirtatious, not exactly. It was simply sincere, offered without angle or expectation. "I just needed a break," I said. "Too many people. Too many congratulations." She nodded knowingly. "A party like this can feel like you're performing a version of yourself for a crowd." The words hit me like a stone dropped into still water. "Yes," I breathed. "Exactly like that." She studied me, not intrusively, but with genuine care. "You don't look miserable," she said softly, "but you don't look happy either. You look lost." "No one else noticed," I whispered, not sure why I was admitting it. "I'm not everyone else." That made something shift inside me, something subtle but undeniable. The music from inside drifted through the open doors, laughter, bass, applause. But out here, everything felt still. Like the world had paused just long enough for me to step out of a life I wasn't sure I wanted. "You read people too well," I said. "Is that part of being a photographer?" She shook her head. "No, it's part of being someone who pays attention. Most people don't." I swallowed hard. "Why pay attention to me?" Her eyes softened. "Because you're pretending so hard that it's hurting you." The breath I took was shaky. I didn't want her to be right. I didn't want to feel seen. And yet the relief of it washed over me like cool rain after a long drought. "You don't know me," I said quietly. "Maybe not," she replied. "But that doesn't mean I can't see you." My pulse pounded in my ears. The air between us thickened, Not romantic, not forbidden, but intimate in a way I hadn't felt in years. The kind of intimacy that doesn't need touch or confession, just truth. She stepped back, giving me space. I should get inside. They'll want more pictures soon. Before she left, she hesitated. If you ever need to step away again, just look my way. I'll find an excuse to get you out of the crowd. I nodded, unable to speak. She walked toward the doors, the warm lights catching in her hair, and my chest constricted as I watched her disappear into the party. I told myself it was nothing. Just kindness. Just a moment of understanding from a stranger. But deep down, in a place I didn't want to examine, I knew that something had shifted. Something I couldn't undo. The next morning, the photos arrived in my inbox before the coffee even finished brewing. I stood barefoot in my kitchen, hair shoved into a messy bun, Daniel's t-shirt hanging off one shoulder, when my phone buzzed on the counter. The subject line was simple: engagement party, preview gallery, from Harper Lane. Photography. My heartbeat picked up. I told myself it was just excitement, the normal kind a bride-to-be would feel seeing her engagement photos. But when I opened the email, it wasn't the ring or the decorations or even Daniel that my eyes searched for. It was her name. Hey, Lauren. Thanks again for letting me capture your night. Here's a small preview. Thought you might like to see these before the full gallery is ready. Hope you're getting some rest today. Harper. Even in plain text, I could hear her voice. Low, calm, thoughtful. Anything good? Daniel's voice floated in from the living room. He was flipping through channels, still riding the high from all the compliments he'd gotten about the party, about the ring, about us. Yeah, I called back, stalling. The photographer sent some previews. Nice. We'll look together in a sec, he said, more focused on the TV than me, but I was already tapping the first thumbnail. The image bloomed across the screen, and for a second I forgot to breathe. It was us, me and Daniel in the center of the barn, surrounded by soft light and blurred motion. He was mid-laugh, mouth open, eyes bright. I was looking up at him, smiling, except it wasn't the smile I'd practiced in the mirror. It was smaller, sadder. My eyes weren't on the ring or on his face. They were fixed somewhere far away, like my body was in the room, but my heart was drifting miles off. My stomach tightened. The next photo was a close-up. Daniel's arm wrapped around my shoulders, the ring catching the light perfectly. It would have been the kind of image people printed and framed. But again, it was my eyes. Harper had caught them at the exact moment my smile faltered. Just the tiniest bit. I looked conflicted, torn. I swiped again, and there I was talking to Jenna at the table, leaning forward, hands wrapped around my glass. Jenna's face was animated, laughing about something while I stared down at the table with a soft, unsettled expression. The edge of my engagement ring glinted near my thumb as if highlighting the source of that weight. It was like Harper had peeled back the glossy layer of the night and quietly photographed everything underneath. Okay, let's see, Daniel said, coming up behind me. His hand slipped around my waist, chin brushing my shoulder as he tried to get a look at the screen. Whoa, that's a good one. Send it to your mom. She'll freak out. He reached for the phone, but I angled it slightly away without thinking. Wait, there are more, I said quickly. I scrolled farther down the email. Halfway through, I found a shot that made my entire body go still. It wasn't of the party. Not exactly. It was me on the patio. Alone. The barn door opened behind me, spilling warm light, while I leaned on the railing, head tipped back, eyes closed. My shoulders looked heavy, like I was holding up an invisible weight. The darkness around me was soft and deep, the string lights above casting a faint halo. I remembered the moment. right before Harper came outside. In the photo, I looked vulnerable, unmasked, like someone caught between two lives. "Wow," I whispered. Daniel squeezed my waist again, still trying to see. "Come on, don't hog them." I locked the screen. It was automatic, defensive, and it startled both of us. He pulled back an inch. "Okay, what was that?" I forced a laugh. "There's a lot. I want to go through them first, pick out the best ones before we send them to people." He studied me for a moment, then shrugged. "Sure. Just don't delete anything good on accident. We paid for these." He headed back toward the couch, already half distracted by a sports highlight reel. I exhaled slowly. It wasn't that I thought he would see what I saw. To him, they would just be pictures. Nice, professional, flattering enough for social media. But to me, they felt like evidence. Proof that whatever was wrong inside me wasn't just in my head. Harper had captured it. She'd seen it. And now it was staring back at me from my own phone. Later that afternoon, after Daniel went to meet a friend for beers and wedding advice he hadn't asked for, I sat alone at the kitchen table with my laptop open. The preview gallery link glowed on the screen, waiting. I clicked it. The site loaded to a tiled wall of images, tiny windows into a night I was already trying to rewrite in my memory. I moved through them slowly, each click a soft drum beat in my chest. There were plenty of the standard shots, group pictures, laughing candids, decor details, but threaded between them were the ones that made my breath hitch, me staring off while people talked around me. The way my fingers kept finding the ring, twisting it just enough to show unease. The shadow in my expression when I thought no one was watching. Every frame that included me told a different story than the one printed on the invitations. At the end of the gallery, there was one final image I hadn't seen in the email. It was subtle, almost an afterthought, a reflection in the barn window, shot from outside. Inside, people danced and hugged and toasted. In the glass, my reflection appeared near the corner, slightly distorted but unmistakable. I was looking straight out, straight at the camera, straight at her, and my eyes looked like someone silently asking for help. My chest ached. Before I could talk myself out of it, I scrolled back to the top of the page, found her email address, and hit reply. "Hey, Harper. The photos are beautiful. Thank you. I was wondering, do you offer any one-on-one sessions to review and choose favorites? I feel a little overwhelmed trying to decide on my own. Lauren." I stared at the message for a long time before hitting send. It was simple. Innocent. Nothing anyone could read into. Except I knew why I was really writing. I wanted to be in a room with someone who saw me, even if it scared me. Her reply came less than an hour later. "Hey, Lauren, I'm glad you like them. You photograph really well, even when you don't think you are. I do offer review sessions. If you're free, you could swing by my studio tomorrow afternoon. It's downtown, above the coffee shop on Maple and 3rd. I'll bring the full set, and we can go through them together. No pressure, no hard sell. Just us, the photos, and maybe some good coffee. Harper P.S. I promise it won't be overwhelming. That part's my job." A warmth spread through me at her words. Us, the photos, and maybe some good coffee. It felt too casual to be dangerous, too professional to be anything else. Still, my fingers trembled as I typed back. "Tomorrow works. 3 p.m. Perfect. See you then." That night, lying in bed next to Daniel, I couldn't sleep. He snored softly beside me, one arm thrown over my waist, heavy and familiar. The room was dark except for the faint glow from the street lamp filtering through the curtains. I stared at the ceiling, listening to the steady rhythm of his breathing, and tried to imagine the life everyone else already saw for us. The wedding, the house, the kids. the ordinary happiness. It should have felt comforting, safe. Instead, my chest felt tight and small, like I was standing in a beautifully decorated room slowly running out of oxygen. I thought back to high school, to the girl on my soccer team whose laugh used to light up my whole day. I remembered how my stomach flipped when she hugged me, how I'd convinced myself it was just admiration, just friendship, just something normal. I remembered late-night movie marathons in college, lying too close to my roommate on the futon, my heart pounding every time our hands brushed. I told myself it was an overactive imagination, a phase, nothing that meant anything. I had gotten very good at talking myself out of it, at folding those feelings into tiny, unmarked boxes and stacking them in the back of my mind. Then I met Daniel. He was safe, kind, funny, easy to explain. The boxes could stay closed because I'd found something everyone understood. And now, with one night and a set of photographs, a stranger named Harper had walked into my life and shaken the shelves. "Stop it," I whispered to myself in the dark. "You're engaged. You're happy." But the word echoed hollow in my chest. The next afternoon, I stood outside the brick building Harper had mentioned, my heart drumming against my ribs. The coffee shop underneath smelled like roasted beans and sugar, the windows fogged slightly from the warmth inside. I wiped my damp palms on my jeans and forced my feet up the narrow stairwell to the second floor. Her studio door was half open, a sliver of soft light spilling into the hallway. I knocked lightly anyway. "Come in," she called. The space was bright and airy, with white walls, big windows, and plants hanging in the corners. A couple of framed prints decorated the walls, portraits mostly, but not the posed, glossy kind. These were full of movement and emotion, people caught mid-laugh, mid-tear, mid-realization. A small sofa sat against one wall, a simple wooden table in the middle covered in prints, and a laptop. Harper stood by the table when I walked in, her camera absent for once. She wore a faded gray t-shirt and black jeans, her hair down around her shoulders, softer than I remembered. For a brief, dizzy second, I forgot how to form words. Then she smiled, and the room felt warmer. "Hey," she said. "You made it." "Yeah." My voice came out thin. I cleared my throat. "Sorry if I'm a little early." "Early is good. Gives us more time." She gestured toward the table. "I printed some of my favorites, and we've got the full set on the laptop too. Want some coffee? There's a secret staircase down to the shop, but I also have a machine back here that does a decent job." "Coffee sounds good," I said, grateful for something normal to do with my hands. As she moved around the small kitchenette tucked in the corner, I wandered the studio, pretending to study the framed prints. Each one radiated a kind of intimacy that made my throat thick. It wasn't about perfection. It was about honesty. "Your work is beautiful," I said softly. "Thanks." She glanced over her shoulder. "I like catching people when they forget they're being watched." I swallowed. "You're very good at that." She poured the coffee and handed me a mug. Our fingers brushed just for a second. My skin tingled where we touched, a quiet spark shooting up my wrist and lodging behind my ribs. She seemed unfazed, offering a small, grateful smile. "Take a seat. We'll start with the prints. That way it doesn't feel like you're drowning in files." I sat on the sofa, setting my mug on the table. She slid a neat stack of prints toward me, then settled on the opposite end of the couch, angled slightly, so we were facing each other. "You tell me how you feel when you see them," she said. "Forget what you think other people expect you to like. This is about you." The first print was that wide shot of the barn, warm lights, rustic beams, everyone gathered around. It was pretty, polished, safe. "It's nice," I said. "Nice," she repeated. "On a scale from wallpaper to heart punch, where are we?" I laughed, the sound easing some of my tension. Maybe postcard. Okay, postcard, she said, setting it aside. Next. We moved through several more. Some made me smile genuinely, a shot of my dad making a ridiculous face with one of my little cousins, Jenna mid-dance, hair flying. But it wasn't until I reached the patio photo that my fingers stilled. Oh, I breathed. She watched my face as much as the print. What does that one feel like? I studied it closely. The crooked curve of my shoulders, the way my head tipped back like I was trying to memorize the sky. There was loneliness in the image, yes, but something else too. This fragile, quiet hope. It feels... I searched for the right words. True, even if I don't want it to be. Her gaze softened. You don't like how you look in it? It's not that, I said quickly. I actually think it's beautiful. It just doesn't look like someone who's about to get married. Does it look like you? She asked. The question landed between us with surprising weight. I thought about it, really thought about it. The woman in the photograph, caught in a moment of raw honesty, the weight in her posture, the flicker of yearning. Yes, I whispered. It looks like me. Harper nodded, her expression gentle. Then it deserves a place in your story, doesn't it? My eyes burned suddenly, tears pricking at the corners. I blinked them back, fast, embarrassed. Sorry, I said with a shaky laugh. I didn't realize engagement photos could turn into a therapy session. She smiled softly. The camera doesn't judge, it just reflects. Sometimes we don't realize how much we're holding until we see it outside ourselves. I looked up at her, my heart knocking hard against my ribs. Is that what you saw? That I was holding something? I saw someone trying very hard to be okay, she said simply. And someone who deserved to be actually okay instead. The words sank into me like sunlight into cold skin. No one in my life had said anything like that. Everyone keeps talking about how lucky I am, I murmured. How perfect this all is. How happy I should be. How happy are you? She asked. I hesitated, the real answer clawing at my throat. I could lie. I could give the surface-level response that would make everything easier. Instead, maybe because of the warmth of the room or the softness in her eyes, or the fact that her camera wasn't between us right now, I exhaled the truth. I don't know, I admitted. Sometimes I feel like I'm watching myself live someone else's life. Like I'm playing a role I auditioned for years ago, and I'm scared of what happens if I walk off the stage. Silence settled over us, not cold or judging, but thick with understanding. She didn't rush to fill it, didn't offer platitudes or advice. She just held my gaze, steady and present. That sounds exhausting, she said finally. It is. And lonely. Yeah, I whispered. That too. She shifted slightly closer. Not enough to be inappropriate, just enough that the space between us felt intentional. Do you have anyone you can be completely honest with about all this? I thought of Jenna, of how she'd noticed my reaction to Harper at the party. She knew me well, but I'd always edited myself around her too. Just a little. Not really, I said. Her brow furrowed. You should. You deserve that. The urge to cry welled up again, but I swallowed it down. What about you? I asked, trying to deflect. Do you ever feel like you're just watching other people's lives instead of living your own? You're always behind the camera. She considered that, a faint smile tugging at her lips. Sometimes, she said. But then I get moments like this, conversations like this, and it feels real, connected. That's me living my life. Something in my chest tightened in a way I couldn't name. Without thinking, I reached for the next print, needing something to anchor myself. It was that window reflection shot, the one where my face hovered in the glass, watching from outside. "You snuck this one in," I said, my voice catching. She leaned forward to look. "Yeah, I wasn't sure if I should include it." "Why?" "Because it's intimate," she said. "Not in a romantic way, just revealing. It felt like a moment you didn't intend anyone to see." I traced the edge of the photo with my fingertip. "And you showed it to me anyway." "I thought you deserved to see the truth," she said quietly. "Even if it's hard." I looked up. Our eyes met. The air between us hummed, charged and fragile. For a flicker of a second, the entire world narrowed to the space between us, the warmth of her gaze, the sound of our breathing, the way my heart pounded in my ears. It wasn't a movie scene, no swelling music, just two people in a room, sitting too close to a line neither of us had named. I was the one who broke away first, clearing my throat and setting the print down. "I should, tell Daniel about the photos," I said. "He'll want to pick his favorites too." "Of course," she said, her voice easy even if her eyes still seemed to study me. "Take all the time you need. I'll send you a link to download the ones you choose. No rush." I stood up, suddenly restless. "Thank you for doing this. For all of this." She rose too, walking me to the door. "You're welcome," she said. "And hey, Lauren." "Yeah?" "If you ever need to talk about something that isn't photography," she said, "you know where to find me." The offer hung in the air, soft, open, dangerous. I nodded, my hand resting on the doorknob. "Thank you," I repeated, because there was nothing else I could safely say. As I stepped into the hallway, I felt her eyes on my back for a moment. Not possessive or expectant, just present, seeing me. And for the first time in a long time, it terrified me how much I wanted to be seen. I descended the stairs into the coffee shop, the rich scent of espresso and sugar wrapping around me. Outside, the late afternoon sun painted the street in gold. People walked by, laughing, talking, living ordinary lives. I stood on the sidewalk, clutching my phone, the echo of Harper's words repeating in my head. "You deserve to be actually okay." I didn't know what actually okay looked like yet. I didn't know what it meant for my engagement, my future, my carefully constructed plans. All I knew was that somehow, somewhere between the flashes of her camera and the quiet of her studio, something in me had woken up, and I couldn't unwake it. Not now. Not after she'd seen right through me. Not after I'd let her. The weather shifted overnight. I woke to a gray Sunday sky that pressed low over Asheville, heavy with the threat of rain. The kind of day made for blankets and tea and pretending the world wasn't demanding anything from you. But my mind wouldn't stop pacing. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw the photographs. Every one of them a mirror I wasn't ready to face, especially the ones Harper took when I wasn't looking. Daniel was already up, loading the dishwasher loudly enough to make sure I knew he was being productive. He always did chores with the energy of someone auditioning for Husband of the Year. "Morning," he called the second he heard me step into the kitchen. "Morning," I replied, pulling my robe tighter. He kissed my temple as he hurried past. "I was thinking we could drive up to the Overlook today, get some fresh mountain air, clear our heads after all the party chaos." "That sounds nice," I lied automatically. The idea of being trapped in a car for 2 hours, making small talk about wedding venues made my stomach twist. "We can bring the photos too," he added cheerfully. "Pick out the ones to print. My mom wants one of us for her hallway wall. Something big. Like framed big. I flinched before I could stop myself. His brow tightened. What's that face? Just tired, I said quickly. Yesterday was a lot. He softened. Yeah, I know, but we should enjoy this part, right? It's supposed to be fun. Right. Fun. I nodded, but inside something trembled. Because this wasn't fun. It felt like I was walking deeper into a life that didn't feel like mine. His phone buzzed on the counter. He glanced at it. It's Mark. He wants to meet about the bachelor trip stuff. Is it okay if we do the drive later, like late afternoon? Yeah, I said, relieved. Go. Have fun. He kissed my cheek again and was out the door within minutes, smelling faintly of aftershave and ambition. When the silence settled, it felt like the house finally exhaled with me. I wandered into the living room, curling up on the couch with my knees to my chest. I pulled a blanket over my shoulders and stared at the window as fat raindrops began to race down the glass. My phone buzzed. Harper, just checking in. Yesterday was intense. Hope you're feeling okay today. And no pressure to reply. My heart jolted, a soft ache blooming in my chest. I typed, deleted, typed again. Me. Thank you, I'm okay. Just processing a lot. She was typing almost instantly. Harper. Understandable. Reflection can be loud. If you want company that doesn't expect anything from you, I'm in the studio most of the day. The offer sat on my screen like a quiet hand extended in the dark. I stared at it for a long time. The rain thickened outside, turning the world into a blur of gray and motion. Something in me wanted to get in the car and drive to her. Wanted a space where nothing was expected of me. Wanted to breathe. But wanting was dangerous. Me. I appreciate it. But I think I just need a quiet day at home. 3 dots appeared. Disappeared. Appeared again. Harper. Totally get it. If you change your mind, you know where I am. I set the phone aside and pulled the blanket up to my chin, but the silence didn't settle. My thoughts kept circling the same point until it felt like I was pacing inside my own head. I grabbed my laptop, opened the preview gallery again, and stared at the patio photo. The truth of it hit even harder this morning. I looked like someone silently asking for something more, something different, something real. That's when the doorbell rang. I froze. For a moment, I considered ignoring it, pretending I wasn't home, but the bell chimed again. When I opened the door, Jenna stood there holding a paper bag from a bakery and a stack of bridal magazines. Surprise, she said, breezing inside before I could protest. It's a gloomy day, so I brought muffins and wedding inspiration, because nothing chases away the rainy day blues like ivory satin and overpriced floral arrangements. Her voice was bright, but her eyes studied me closely, too closely. You look like you've been thinking, she said, which is dangerous for you. I closed the door, sighing. Don't start. Oh, I'm starting, she said, dropping the magazines on the coffee table. You've been weird since the party. Everyone's weird after their engagement party. Sure. She narrowed her eyes. And your weirdness has absolutely nothing to do with the very attractive photographer who kept staring at you like she was decoding ancient runes. Heat flushed through me. Jenna. I'm not implying anything scandalous, she said, hands raised. I'm just saying she noticed you, and you noticed being noticed. I sank onto the couch. It's not like that. Is it not? She said, sitting beside me. Or do you not want it to be? A storm rumbled outside, thunder low and rolling. I took a shaky breath. I don't know what I feel. Jenna's voice softened. Talk to me. I stared at the window for a long moment, watching the rain slide down in crooked rivers. It's like the life I've built makes sense, I began. Daniel is a good man. He's safe, stable. He wants a future with me. And everyone says I should want that, should feel lucky. But, Jenna prompted, but I'm not sure I recognize myself in that future. She leaned back, absorbing the words. And Harper? I hesitated, the truth scraping raw inside my chest. She made me feel seen, I said quietly. Like I wasn't pretending, like I didn't have to perform. Jenna nodded slowly. Lauren, that matters. It's just a moment, I said quickly. A weird, emotional, I don't know, a glitch. Doesn't sound like a glitch to me. It doesn't matter, I said, rubbing my temples. I'm engaged. That's supposed to mean something. She reached for my hand. It means something. But so does what you're feeling. I shook my head. I don't even know what I'm feeling. You don't have to label it, she said. Just don't ignore it. I exhaled shakily. Daniel wants to go through the photos today. I don't know how I'm supposed to sit next to him and pretend I didn't spend hours looking at them with someone else. Jenna squeezed my hand gently. You don't have to pretend with me. Just take today slow, okay? Don't make any big decisions when your heart feels like a storm. I nodded. We spent the next hour flipping through magazine pages, pretending to care about lace patterns and seating charts. But my mind kept drifting to the studio, to Harper's quiet voice saying, you deserve to be actually okay. When Jenna left, the apartment fell silent again, save for the rain. I wandered into the bedroom, my eyes drifting toward the engagement ring on the dresser. I'd taken it off when I showered and never put it back on. It glittered under the soft lamplight, beautiful and heavy. I picked it up, turned it in my fingers, watched the way the diamond bent the light into fractured beams. It didn't feel like a promise. It felt like pressure. I set it down and stepped back, heart pounding. Just then, my phone buzzed. I expected Harper, but it was Daniel. Daniel. Running late. Rain's brutal. Still up for the drive? We can talk wedding timelines too. Wedding timelines, dress fittings, guest lists, bridal showers, a future I was supposed to want. My throat tightened. I typed slowly. Maybe the drive isn't a good idea today. Storm's getting worse. Let's just stay in tonight, he replied instantly. Daniel. Okay. Pick some photos you like and we'll go through them together. I'm excited, babe. I stared at the message, guilt curling in my stomach like smoke. I needed air, space, something. I grabbed my keys before I could overthink it, told myself I was just going for a drive, just to clear my head, just to breathe. But as soon as I pulled out of the parking lot, my car started drifting. Not toward the mountain overlook, not toward any place Daniel would expect. It drifted downtown, toward Maple and 3rd, toward the studio above the coffee shop, toward her. By the time I parked, the rain had slowed to a mist, the world blurred and silver. I stood on the sidewalk, staring up at the staircase, heart pounding so hard it felt reckless. I shouldn't be here, I knew that. But my feet moved anyway, up the stairs, down the hall, to her half-open door. Soft music played inside, something low and instrumental. The smell of coffee lingered in the air. Light spilled into the hallway the same way it had yesterday. I lifted my hand to knock. Before I could, her voice floated through the crack in the door. Come in, she said gently, like she already knew it was me. I pushed the door open. Harper looked up from her desk, hair tucked behind one ear, warm lamplight catching the curve of her cheek. She rose slowly, her expression softening into something I couldn't name. You came, she murmured. I stood frozen in the doorway, breath shallow, heart trembling. I didn't know where else to go, I whispered. Her eyes softened even more, concern mixed with warmth. You came to the right place, she said, And in that moment, something inside me cracked open. Not broken, not ruined, opened. For the first time in my life. The studio door closed behind me with a soft click that sounded far louder inside my chest. Rain clung to my hair and jacket, little beads scattering onto the wooden floor. Harper stepped toward me just far enough to offer warmth, but not so close that it felt like pressure. "You're soaked," she said gently. "Let me get a towel." Before I could answer, she crossed the room, returning with a soft gray towel. I took it, our fingers brushing briefly. The warmth in that fleeting touch felt like someone lighting a match in a dark room. "Thanks," I whispered, patting my face and hair. She didn't ask why I was there, didn't rush me, didn't fill the silence. She just waited, giving me space to breathe. When I finally found my voice, it came out thin. "I didn't plan to come here. I just drove and ended up outside." Her expression softened. Sometimes the heart leads before the mind can catch up. I let the towel fall into my lap, staring at it like it held answers I didn't know how to reach. "I don't know what I'm doing anymore." "That makes two of us," she confessed quietly. I looked up. She stood only a few feet away, arms relaxed at her sides, eyes open and steady. There was no hint of judgment, no expectation, just presence, calm, safety. The storm outside rattled the windows, wind humming through the eaves of the old brick building. It felt like the world was urging me to stop running. "I keep trying to talk myself out of whatever this is," I said, voice trembling. "I keep saying I'm imagining it, that it's just stress, or fear, or wedding nerves." Her jaw tightened slightly, like she was holding herself perfectly still to keep from interrupting. "But when I look at the photos you took," I swallowed hard. "I see myself. The version of me I don't show anyone, and it's scary because it's the truth. You captured the truth." "And the truth hurts?" she asked softly. "No," I said. "The truth feels like a window I didn't realize was open." Harper's breath caught, barely, but enough for me to notice. "I'm not trying to make this complicated for you," she said. "You're engaged. I'm not stepping into the middle of that." "You already stepped into the middle of me," I said before I could stop myself. Heat rushed to my face. Her eyes widened just slightly, the only sign I'd caught her off guard. "Lauren," she whispered. Hearing my name in her voice sent a fragile ache spiraling through me. "I don't mean that in a romantic way," I continued quickly, though the tremble in my voice betrayed me. "I don't even know what I mean. I just know I haven't felt this awake in a long time." She moved closer, but slowly, so slowly, giving me every chance to step back. "You deserve to feel awake," she said. "Alive, like your life fits you." "How do I even know what fits me?" I whispered. "I've spent years choosing things that made sense to everyone else." "Maybe start by choosing what makes sense to you," she said softly. Her words hollowed me out and filled me all at once. Lightning flashed outside, the studio briefly glowing white. Thunder followed, loud enough to vibrate the windows. I sat on the edge of the sofa, towel still clutched in my hands, staring at the floor. "Daniel didn't do anything wrong. He's a good man. I should want the life we're building. But you don't," she said gently. Not a question, a truth. I sucked in a sharp breath. Tears burned my eyes, and I blinked them back until they finally spilled over. "I'm scared," I whispered. She moved to kneel in front of me, but not touching me, just near enough that her presence steadied the floor beneath me. "Of hurting him?" she asked. "Yes," I breathed. "And of hurting yourself," she added softly. My lips trembled. Yes. She looked up at me, green eyes warm and deep. You can care about someone and still realize the path you planned with them isn't right. That doesn't make you cruel. It makes you human. I don't want to break his heart. And what about yours? She asked gently. The question cracked something inside me. Tears rushed freely now, my shoulders shaking. I covered my face with my hands, trying to hold myself together. Harper didn't touch me. She didn't reach for me or pull me into her. She just stayed there, grounding me with her presence, offering a safe place for the truth to fall apart. When I finally lowered my hands, her expression hadn't changed. Steady, soft, patient. Why do you care so much about me? I asked, voice raw. She didn't hesitate. Because when I look at you, she said quietly, I see someone who deserves to be free. And I see someone who's been carrying the weight of everyone else's expectations for so long she forgot she had her own. Her words hit me like a tidal wave. I leaned forward, resting my forehead in my hands again, breath shaking. She stayed kneeling, voice soft but sure. I'm not asking anything of you. Not a choice, not a promise, not a future. I don't want to take anything from you. I finally looked at her. I don't want to take you away from your life, she continued. I just want you to see that your life can be different if you want it to be. Different, not better, not worse, just mine. My voice broke. Harper, something is happening inside me and I don't know how to name it. You don't have to name it today, she said. She slowly reached out her hand, not to pull me, not to push me, just to offer it. Her palm open, her fingers steady. A gesture, not a request, an invitation. I stared at her hand like it was a road I hadn't realized existed. My pulse thundered in my ears. When I placed my hand in hers, it wasn't romantic. It wasn't forbidden. It wasn't even bold. It was honest. Her fingers curled around mine, warm and gentle. The world didn't explode. No dramatic music swelled. It was simple, quiet, true. Whatever happens next, she said softly, you get to decide it. Not your parents. Not Daniel. Not the wedding invitations. You. I nodded slowly, tears slipping down my cheeks again, but calmer this time. I don't know what I'm going to do, I whispered. You don't have to know, she said. You just have to be honest. I exhaled, the breath shaky but real. I think I'm ready to be. We stayed like that for a long moment, hands entwined, storm softening outside, the room filled with the quiet hum of possibility. Finally, I stood, wiping my eyes. Harper rose with me, her expression open but careful. I need to talk to Daniel, I said, voice steadier than I felt. She nodded, stepping back just enough to give me space. I'm here if you need a friend, nothing more, nothing less. A friend, but the kind whose presence shifts the axis of your life. I slipped on my jacket, heart pounding. At the door, I paused and turned back. Thank you, I said, for seeing me when I didn't know how to see myself. She gave a small, warm smile. You're worth seeing. The words followed me out into the rain. That night, I sat across from Daniel in our living room, the photos pulled up on my laptop. He was excited, animated, flipping through them with all the enthusiasm I wished I could mirror. Look at this one, he said. We look great here. But when he turned to me, his smile faltered. Lauren, you're quiet. I swallowed hard. We need to talk. His shoulders sagged instantly. That sounds bad. It's not about you doing something wrong, I said quickly. You're amazing. You've been amazing. He waited, eyes searching mine. I can't keep pretending I'm okay when I'm not, I whispered. I'm not ready for a wedding, or a future I haven't chosen for myself. The words poured out, tears streaming down my cheeks. I told him everything I could, minus the parts that weren't fair to put on him. The parts about Harper stayed unspoken, not because they were shameful, but because this wasn't about her. This was about me. When I finished, he looked devastated, but he also looked like he understood. You should be happy, he whispered. Really happy. And if that's not with me, I won't be the person who traps you. My breath broke on a sob. He held my hand, steady, kind, heartbreakingly selfless. And for the first time in years, the weight on my chest lifted. He let go, and so did I. A week passed. The world kept spinning, slower, but clearer. My phone buzzed one afternoon with a text that simply said, "Harper, just wanted to check in. How are you?" My heart fluttered, not with guilt, not with fear, but with something gentler. Me, growing, hurting a little, breathing a lot, and figuring myself out. Thank you for letting me take my time. Minutes later, Harper, I'm proud of you, and whenever you're ready, for coffee or just company, I'm here. I smiled, for real, for the first time in a long time. I didn't know what would happen next, with her, with me, with whatever story my life was finally ready to become. But when I stepped out onto the balcony of my apartment that evening and felt the cool breeze against my skin, the world felt wider, full of air, full of choice, full of possibility. And somewhere across town, above a quiet coffee shop, was someone who didn't just look at me. She saw me, and for once, I was ready to see myself too. If you enjoyed this emotional journey, remember to subscribe for more stories filled with tension, romance, and cinematic heart.